Well, good afternoon, everyone. And it seems like I'm frozen. Well, not fun. That though, maybe. I think we're unfrozen.
Hey, there we go.
It starts off strong and finishes even stronger. Well, we'll just go for it. So I am here again with this is Keith with Positively Osceola here. One of our another episode of our Coffee Club Talk Lives mid-afternoon. Doesn't get any better than this, folks. I have Bill Litton, who is the Osceola County Emergency Management Director. How you doing, Bill?
Good, Keith. Thanks for having me this afternoon.
I'll tell you, no matter how many times you do it, those little things sneak up on you sometimes, and it just is what it is. But again, we are very excited that you would come on with us again today. And like I said, we kind of chuckled earlier. You're a extraordinarily popular man in June, if not any other month, for darn sure in June, and July and August, November, October, November. So hurricane season is here, obviously, and I think the last time we spoke, ironically, I said this. It seems like we have months of preparation time, and then suddenly we're in June and we aren't talking about having any extra time. So why don't you go ahead and just give us a kind of an overview, if you would, of where we're at hurricane outlook for this year from where you sit.
Sure. So actually just last week, Dr. Phil Klossbach, who manages and oversees the Colorado State Tropical Meteorology Department, released their third forecast for this year. They do one in April, May, and then June. They'll do a couple more just before the peak in September. So they have made a change. Not big of change, but I know for some people they'll think, oh, that is a little bit bigger now. But as you'll see when I do the NOAA forecast, very similar in line. So named storms, they've actually upped it by one. It was 17, now they've gone 18. Hurricanes are still staying the same at 8, and then major 4. And then if we look at NOAA, NOAA did two things in May. At the end of May, they updated their what we call average forecast season. So for us, from the past, that was 12, 6, and 3. Normally we rode by that. So if we were under that, we knew it was a slower season. They've actually updated that. Now it's 14, 7, and 3. So if you look at what Dr. Phil has just published, sort of in line, a little bit above that if you think about the named storms. And then NOAA has actually stayed in it. They do more of a ratio type forecast. So they're forecasting a 60% above average season expectation. They're looking at 13 to 20. So right in that mid-range if you take Colorado State, 6 to 10 in hurricanes, and then 3 to 5 in majors. And again, when we talk about majors, that's Cat 3 or higher. So those Lauras, those Michaels, those Matthews, those Category 3 storms that can have depths and impact on the coast, but also in the inland for rain, water, and wind impact. So definitely something we don't want to see. But we know that we had a very above average season last year, especially at the Atlantic side, but also on the Gulf side. So, over 30 named storms, unheard of in the tropical seasons. Thankfully, we were spared, had some close calls last year. We stood up in the middle of COVID for 4 of those. We had 4 hurricanes we tracked here, not only impactful to the state of Florida, but thankfully we were spared. Our brothers and sisters in Louisiana were not with Laura, and that name has been retired. So retired names already that we won't see again. Laura Dorian from 2019, excuse me, and then 2 of our Greek letters. And everyone loved the Greek letters last year, not really, but Eta and Iota. And it's funny that Eta and Iota are the ones retired. Most similar in name fashion, but they also hit the Central American feature. A lot of casualties and a lot of damage caused by both of those storms. So that's what indicated those being added to the list of retirees. The Greek letters or the Greek alphabet, we will never use again. NOAA got together with the committee. They now have a standby list of alphabetic names, second list names that they will pull from. And then as those names are used, they can add additional names. So we won't have to worry about that now moving forward. But it was confusing, not only to us as emergency managers, but I know to the public, the Greek alphabet was a little confusing. So.
Yeah, I wonder why that is. Maybe it was the unrecognizable features to the Greek alphabet. I don't know. It was different for sure.
Correct. So, but we're still encouraging everyone, now take this time to prepare. We just got out of the tax-free holiday on disaster preparedness from the state of Florida. That finished up over the weekend. But still, even though that's not in place now, I still encourage, if you need to get your disaster kit supplies, do those items to bank up now, because now is the time to do that. When it's blue sky days, we're not dealing with storms sitting off the coast and waiting to the last minute. We saw some of that with COVID. We saw that with past storms with people waiting, and then the lines at the grocery stores or the home improvement stores, those type things. I also encourage all of our residents, now is the time to walk your house, look around that, see if there's any concerns around there that you need to address, especially trees, branches, those things you can get taken down now, cover, and then review your insurance policy. A lot of people don't think about that, but it's good to do it on an annual basis. Review it with your agent, your thresholds, your deductibles, those type things.
So my family, we took a few days off and hit the West Coast last week after the Memorial Day holiday, and this is the least scientific measurement process of all time, and I'm going to share it with you anyway. So it seemed as if the water was a bit warm for this time of year. Mm-hmm. So my lack of being a scientist said, "Geez, that's an oddity for me. It seems just a little warm." So what does the National Hurricane Center, what do they use as far as assessing where these storms are at? And it's not them actually, but how do these organizations assess at this point in the deal what they're looking at?
Yeah, that's a great point. Both the National Hurricane Center and Colorado State look at that. That's one of the indicators for increased forecasting or increased storm amount. And we're going to see that moving forward, Keith, as well. So for us that follow it and the weather geeks out there, you might have noticed that National Hurricane Center started putting their tropical outlook ahead of time now. Right. So they started actually May 15th. 2 days later, we had our first two subtropical, what we call subtropical systems out in the water. First one was named Anna, so that was the first one off the list. We thought we would have Bill named, but that did not happen. That is the next one on the list. But that we're seeing that, and that's the 7th year in a row that we've had subtropical cyclones form or systems form prior to the start of June 1st. So we're seeing that on that end, warmer temperatures, warmer systems that enhance the development and provide for that. So we'll probably see, probably not next year, but maybe in the next couple of years, Hurricane Center actually moving up the start of the season, probably to mid-May, which will be a drastic change for us because we've always practiced June 1st, right. But we might see the second week of May starting hurricane season. So
I'm going to share a screen that's just a little bit odd, but this is since 1950. I think these are the hurricanes, the named hurricanes, obviously named, that have hit the United States, the continental United States. I think if I can pull it up real quick. And those are 12 hurricanes, 2 majors, all in June.
June, yeah. Strange,
right?
Yes, very strange. Very strange also early that season to have those develop, but yeah, across spectrum of the years there as well.
I thought I'd share that bit of joy right there, that graphic joy. All right, so So really, obviously, we talk a lot about the preparedness. I tend to think, and I am a positive person. I really am an optimist, hence positively Osceola. But what I'm seeing right now is people overwhelmingly happy to be out and having some sense of normalcy, some sense of vacation.
Right.
And I'm not hearing the community being overwhelmingly focused on what we're talking about right now. Now that might be way off. Maybe everybody's ultra prepared. Do you think that because we just recently found ourselves in what looks to be a bit different for the I don't want to say post-COVID, but certainly where we're at stage-wise. Is that concern you guys that people are just a little bit less focused right now?
Yeah, on two fronts. More the exhaustion
right.
of toward the end and wrapping up a pandemic. We're still, dealing with it to a degree, and I'll talk about that, as far as our shelters. But us being under a 4% positivity rate is outstanding. Definitely shows there's not community spread in the community. But also the access and the availability of vaccines now, which is tremendous, not only for our county, but also our state and nation. But I think the other thing, weighing it on both sides of the pendulum, if you look, the last 5 to 6 years here in the state of Florida, we have been more than overly active for hurricanes. Might not be an impactive to Osceola County, but the state as a whole have been impacted with Matthew, Irma, Michael, those other systems and tropical systems too we've had to deal with. So I think the veterans here and those that have lived here for quite some time understand the need to, when June 1st comes and prior to June 1st, is getting ready. And definitely knowing that September and October are our peak season, we can expect something in those time frames. And I think that's helped us with messaging. But also continuing that focus as we have new people moving here every day that have not experienced or know what a tropical cyclone or a hurricane looks like, and what that looks like, days before and even days after, when we're looking at recovery and cleanup operations, what that means like too. So I think it's doubly, but I think coming out of an 18 month, 19 month public health emergency, we're definitely battling that. It's good to see people, moving about and getting back to a sense of normalcy, but still on that back burner, we need to keep the focus that, yes, we are in a hurricane season as well.
Ironically, I was just about to look at my next line item and it said new residents. So you're obviously clairvoyant to some degree here. So I'll move on a little bit from here. And again, I do appreciate you taking the time to speak to us today. And as we always appreciate it. So we've had people, we put out a request email wise a couple of weeks ago, and the things that people didn't seem to have, didn't have a lot of knowledge on or didn't remember, was basically the shelters, where their shelters were, depending on what they're living throughout the county, and what they do as far as animals. How will that all play out this year? So obviously you're not going to list them all right now, but where can people go to look for that before they need to?
So once we're ready to activate the shelters and we make those decisions on which ones, depends on a lot of things like speed and the track of the storm, we will actually list those on multiple avenues. So definitely Osceola.org, our website, readyosceola.org. And then we will use all of our media outlets, including Positively Osceola, to get that message out. So we will, definitely notify that. Once we do that, we will typically open up normally 2 general population shelters. Those are open to all. And one of those will be a pet-friendly shelter. And then also our special needs shelter. So we have a great partnership with the Council on Aging for our medically enhanced shelters for those critically care for our elderly and seniors on that. And then situation goes through, if we need to activate additionals, we will list those as well. But that's the best thing to prepare for. I will let them know as far as preparing for shelter space this year. I want to share a couple notes there. We're really focused on what we did last year. So we're encouraging our residents and guests, if they're in a site structure built home, to plan on staying put this year. That's really because most of our buildings that are constructed after 2003 are built up to code or hurricane code. If you don't feel safe, now's the time to start making those plans for family, friends that live out of the immediate area. And I'm not talking hundreds, 200 miles away, 30 to 40 miles out of the target zone. So you can have refuge out of there. If you do have to go, just be advised that we'll still be following protocol. So we'll probably have at least 3 to 6 foot distance inside. And then we'll do protocols if we need to. We'll do enhanced cleaning and those type of things. But as far as masks, those are going to be voluntary. That's something we cannot mandate in a shelter. It's a state and a federal resource when we activate our shelters. In addition, we're not going to check vaccine, nor are we going to ask for vaccine coverage on that. So that is just another thing they can take in consideration when they make that step. So we'll be looking through that as we move through, what we call a co-response for both COVID and hurricane season. So that's something to keep in mind for our residents. But yes, once we get to that point and we've made the decision, we start our planning operations 128 hours out from a storm, what we call 0 hour make an impact with the county or the coast of Florida. So we will know way ahead of time, and our public will know way ahead of time what those shelters are as we get ready to open.
Yeah, from a resident standpoint, I know that one of the things that was, I don't want to say puzzling, one of the things that really threw many people in the state of Florida a curve, and that was from the first major storm that came through, which was Charlie, was the path. So many people from Tampa and that side of the state came here only to realize they were going to dance with the same storm here one day later. That wasn't the only time that occurred. I know that I think a couple of years ago there was one as well. We had been to the West Coast and it was coming here, so we came home to buckle things down and then realized it was going to be, and it took forever.
Right.
So as a resident, this is where I would say, as we're scrolling ready Osceola.org or Osceola.org, I'm not sure there's anything more important than connecting with the county and the emergency management system that you have in place.
Right.
I don't know what else. I mean, media, we're going to certainly try to get the message out to people as much as you need us to. But boy, getting ahead by being able to connect with you through those sources is paramount, don't you think?
Correct. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And like we said, like with Charlie, we had everybody from Southwest Florida come in this direction. Irma was sort of unique because it was covering almost the whole state of Florida with the exception of the Panhandle. So you're moving South Florida and everybody all at once. So yeah, different considerations to take in place. But yes, I encourage our residents to go on Osceola.org. We have great checklist resources there for them to use for planning for their families and their businesses. And also, if they haven't registered now for Alert Osceola, so you can get those mass notifications. We have 2 preset weather warnings that automatically go to anyone that's registered, and that's tornado warnings and flood warnings, which are our most critical here in the county. If you like getting warnings and you're the weather geek and you like getting those items, you can also register for severe thunderstorms. Now, we know once we get in the summer months, those are pretty much by clockwork, but some of us like getting those things. So you can also register for those as well. So as soon as they're put out by National Weather Service Melbourne, your phone becomes actually a weather radio on your hip. Yeah. So it's good to have that coverage as well.
Yeah, that brings it, and I know we're at the 20-minute mark, but that brings up a great point. It may not be a hurricane, but if you've gone through a tropical storm or a quick moving severe thunderstorm, they can be frightening as well. So arming yourself with information, again, is not an unwise move, right?
Very true. Very true. And yeah, at Irma, I remember being up in Seminole County working, and the amount of tornado warnings that we had just that evening, just back to back, that were released. So it's always good to have another set of alert features, and I encourage our residents to have weather radios at their house as well as another backup tool.
So I'll play this for those people who haven't. I did this the last time we spoke. This for those folks who have forgotten what a hurricane does look like.
Right.
A little on the powerful side.
Yes.
Again, don't know what that guy was trying to do. Pretty intense.
Yes. Very true.
Well, I want to thank you, Bill. We talk about these things in theory sometimes in a prediction sense, but when they make their path where we live, it becomes an all different scenario. So we appreciate you and your team very much and how you protect the community.
Well, I appreciate it, Keith, and we appreciate you as one of our sounding boards and being a force multiplier for us getting the message out, because it definitely makes our job a lot easier.
Well, hopefully we'll have 4 or 5 more of these talking in theory and as a prediction, and not actually have to take a break from these and preparedness and talk about the reality of one. So again, we appreciate what you do, and you and your team, and too bad we couldn't get Andrew Sullivan on this one today. We'll get him back here.
No problem. Yeah, we'll definitely get him to join us next time.
All right, very good. Well, Bill, again, thank you. So again, this is Keith with Positively Osceola, along with Bill Litton, the Osceola County Emergency Management Director, talking hurricanes, talking preparedness, talking being connected with the source, the emergency management system, as well as Osceola County. Together, we're making a positive difference in and around Osceola County. Thanks, guys.